Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Unacademy, India's largest online learning platform for the preparation of competitive exams. My name is Neelam. I'm going to be your facilitator and guide for CAT and other management exams. In today's session, I'm going to have a discussion on CAT 90 passage. This time slot, I have been taking up all the passages of CAT 90 so that you have clarity about those passages, and if you encounter similar passage, you know how to tackle that passage. I've been discussing passage, question answer, and the words and terms which appeared in these passages. So far, we have discussed 5 passages, and today it's going to be 6th passage. This appeared in the slot 1 of CAT 2019, and it was fairly doable passage. Though CAT 19 was perceived as the tough paper, and yet it was tough. Some of the passages were really abstruse, difficult to understand, but this was one of those passages which was fairly doable. So we will discuss this passage. I'll explain to you the content of the passage. We'll have a discussion of question and answer, and then we will do words which appeared in the passage. Right? Let's begin with today's agenda, that is CAT 19 passage discussion. Before that, let me give you a brief introduction of myself. My name is Neelam Malkani. I possess around 12 years of experience of test preparation industry and have trained students of CAT, GRE and GMAT. My areas of expertise have been English and verbal reasoning. I've also designed and set assessment papers of English and reasoning for various exams. For a brief period of time, I also served as an examiner of English for an international organization. Recently, I have authored a comprehensive book of English for the preparation of competitive exams. The book is available on Amazon and is written in both Hindi and English. The video is brought to you by Unacademy. Let me take you to its portal and tell you how you can be part of this. You have to download the Unacademy Learning app from the Play Store and fill in all the details. You'll be shown 3 categories plus free courses, special classes. If you want to attend classes for CAT, you have to go in the category of plus. If you go in the subscription, you will be shown all the features that you will be availing once you subscribe to this course. Features such as 30 hours of live sessions every day. As per your convenience, as per your availability, as per your choice, you can choose the time of your session. You can choose the time of your classes. These courses and these classes are delivered by 14 plus top educators of India. Those educators have wealth of experience of mentoring and guiding students in their respective domains. And the courses which are delivered by these educators are well structured, well designed, have fine balance of conceptual clarity and exercises so that you consolidate on those topics eventually. Every month you get to see a new course being launched on an academy catering to a specific needs of a particular exam. All these features you can avail in one single subscription. Subscriptions have been devised as per your suitability or your plan for this exam. If you are preparing for CAT 2020, you can go for 1 month subscription. If you are preparing for 2021 CAT, you can go for 1 year subscription. They are very pocket friendly and economical and best in the industry. Whichever model of subscription you choose here, if you want to have further 10% discount, you have to type code Neelam, right? So this is all about an academy and the way you can subscribe to the courses. With single subscription, you can avail all these benefits. Now, in this series of CAT 19 passages discussion, I have been telling you the sources of these passages so that you can start acquainting yourself with these sources and start reading these newspapers. So one of the passages which we discussed in previous session was taken from the Atlantic. Another passage was taken from Economist and the Guardian, right? So these newspapers, these standard international newspapers have suddenly become the source of these passages. Apart from that, one of the passages was taken from a book which was based on British colonialism, right? So the passage which was really dense and difficult was taken up from that book, because book was written for those who were already conversant with those jargons and phraseology associated with history. Passage was fairly difficult because it was an excerpt from that book. So not only reading past newspaper articles will help you, but also reading books, and that too multifarious subjects. Not on the subject that interests you, also on those subjects do not, right? So this multifarious reading will only give you that confidence to do well in this reading comprehension part, because CAT verbal ability and reading comprehension section is dominated by reading based exercises. Not only reading comprehension, but also paragraph jumble, summary finding, and odd sentence out. All these questions, though they fall in the category of verbal ability, but if you see closely, they also ask you to read. They're also based on reading comprehension. If you're not able to read and comprehend, you won't be able to understand the summary, you won't be able to form a paragraph, right? So in totality, entire section is based on reading. Needless to say, you have to acquire good reading habit, and eventually you have to build on that if you are preparing for CAT 2021. Okay, so let's come back to this passage. The source of this passage was a book again. It's a famous, very famous professor who teaches geography at the University of Wisconsin. This excerpt, this passage was taken up from his famous book, A Study of Environmental Perceptions, Attitudes and Values, right? So this was taken up from one of its chapters, and the chapter was published in Columbia University Press. So if you don't have access to the book, you can always refer to this Columbia University Press page where this article is there, right? So in totality, you can understand what this article was about, and from this article only this passage was taken up by the examiner of CAT. Now geography may not lie in your area of interest, but you will have to be conversant, because you never know which subject can be given as a subject of your passage. So you better acquire some understanding of different fields, especially diverse fields. Now let's start reading the passage. As I have been doing, I'll give you one slide which incorporates one paragraph of the passage. You read it, understand it, and then I'm going to explain it to you. And you try to match my explanation with what you understood the content of the passage, right? I'm going to give you 30 seconds to read the paragraph. All right? Fine. So I'm going to read it out for you, and whichever part I feel needs explanation, I'll explain it to you. As defined by the geographer E. Tuan, topophilia, its love for a place, is the affective bond between people and place. So there is a bond between people and the place they live in. Is his 74 book set forth a wide-ranging exploration of how emotive ties with the material environment vary greatly from person to person in intensity, subtlety, mode of expression. In all these ways, it varies. Some people are more attached, some people are not that much attached. So this attachment, this emotive ties, emotional bonding with the place they live in, it varies from person to person in intensity, subtlety, and mode of expression. Right? So on these three different ways, people express their affinity for a place, their closeness to a place. Some are more intense, some are less intense, some are more subtle, some are not at all subtle. And their mode of expression is also different. So far we understand this. Factors influencing one's depth of response to the environment include cultural background, gender, race, and historical circumstances. And one also argue that there is a biological and sensory element. The way we respond to our affinity, the way we express our affinity to a place, it also influenced by which gender we are, which background we come from, which cultural background we come from, which race we come from, what our historical circumstances have been, and up to some extent, a biology and sensory elements. So those people who are sensory, who have strong sensory element, they possibly have greater expression for their place than those people who are not, who don't have very strong sense, right? So that way author says here these are different things which affect our expression of our place. Topophilia might not be the strongest of human emotions. Indeed, many people feel utterly indifferent toward the environment that shape their lives. Some people are extremely unaffected by the environment they live. But when activated, it has the power to elevate a place to become the carrier of emotionally charged events or to be perceived as a symbol. कुछ लोग बिल्कुल अफेक्ट नहीं होते हैं, इस प्लेस में ये रहते हैं, उनसे उनको कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता। लेकिन जब ये टोपोफिलिया एक्टिवेट होता है, जब ये फीलिंग एक्टिवेट होती है आपके दिमाग में, इट कैन इमोशनली चार्ज यू, राइट, एंड टू बी परसीव्ड एज अ सिंबल। सो इसका एक बहुत हद तक फर्क पड़ सकता है when the sense is activated among people, right? So far what we have understood from this paragraph is what topophilia is. It's the affinity for a place you live, right? And it varies from person to person. It varies from intensity to intensity. Some people have intense feeling their place, some with their places they come from, and some people are absolutely indifferent. And the mode of expression is also different. Some people may be very vocal about their affinity for the place, about their liking of the place. Some people may be tacit, right? So on these accounts, people differ. Another way, the factors that affect is which gender we come from, which race we are from, the cultural background, and other things also affect our expression of this affinity. Then we say some people are absolutely unaffected, but when this is charged, when this feeling is evoked in them, they can have this emotive feeling from, right? So what topophilia is, how it affects and how it differs. So that's what is the sum and substance of this paragraph. Very easy to understand, nothing complicated. Let's read second paragraph. 30 seconds again. All right. Look at the sentences I have boldface. Possibly these are the sentences which you need to focus on, and rest of the sentence you can skim. Yet you can retain whole content of the passage. Now, aesthetic appreciation is one way in which people respond to the environment. Aesthetic appreciation is the beauty. If the environment is beautiful, people are going to respond. That is one way people will be compelled to respond. Now, the part which is explained after it, just the explanation of the sentence. The idea is captured in the sentence. Look at this. A brilliantly colored rainbow. It's talking about aesthetic appreciation. Gloomy afternoon showers. A busy city street alive with human interaction. One might experience the beauty of such landscapes had seemed quite ordinary only moment before, or that are being newly discovered. So when suddenly somebody understands topophilia, or his this feeling is activated, he suddenly sees beauty in his environment. Those things which seemed ordinary earlier now suddenly become beautiful, or suddenly they discover this beauty in their environment. Right? Second, this is quite the opposite of a second topophilic bond, namely that of the acquired taste for certain landscapes and places that one knows well. This is different. This, you suddenly realize that your surrounding is so beautiful because now you have activated topophilic feeling. Here, this is quite the opposite of a second topophilic bond, which you have because you have acquired taste, because of your understanding of the place or your understanding of the characteristic of the landscape of your place. When a place is home, or when a space has become the locus of memories or the means of gaining a livelihood, it frequently evokes a deeper set of attachment than those predicated purely on the visual. When I belong to a place, when I come from a place, I will have that innate bond with the place because I come from the place. I got education, I got my upbringing in that place. So that kind of bond is different from the bond that I have with the place just because of the visuals. Because the visuals are pleasing, it's aesthetically appreciated, hence I have a bond with that place. But this bond is different from the place where I have born. A third response to the environment also depends on the human senses. It may be tactile, that is touching, and olfactory, that is auditory. A delight in the feel and smell of air, water, and the earth. Olfactory is by smelling, right? So here, tactile and olfactory. If there is a good fragrance and if there is a pleasurable touch to a place, you possibly have that connection with it, right? The third response to the environment is with tactile and olfactory, right? So if there is a good fragrance emanating from a place, you possibly feel connected, right? If there is a nice feel of touch to that place, you also feel connected. So paragraph 3 talks about different ways people respond to the environment. One, they appreciate because it's beautiful. Second, they appreciate because they are connected to the place, because they are born in that place, they were educated in that place. Third, there is a tactile perception, that touching or olfactory, right? So second paragraph, illustrating how people are connected or how people get connected to a place. Details. Third paragraph, again 30 seconds. Now, this paragraph is a bit difficult to understand, right? Because author delves deeper into one more dimension of topophilia, right? Now, let's read it and try to deconstruct the message. Topophilia is an experience, right? So, if you read that part and connect the sentence with its verb, you will have more clarity. Topophilia is an experience that, topophilia, it explained with dash, a set of dash, and its very close conceptual twin, sense of topophilia and its conceptual twin, sense of place. Both are an experience that, however elusive, it says however elusive, that means however difficult it is to have a grasp on this issue, have a grasp on this concept. Elusive is something which is beyond your reach. Topophilia is an experience that, however elusive, has inspired recent architects and planners. Though it's difficult to understand, though it's difficult to grasp, yet recent architects and planners have tried, have been inspired by topophilia. Most notably, new urbanism seeks to counter the perceived placelessness of modern suburbs and the decline of central cities through neo-traditional design. So those architects and planners have been inspired by topophilia, and when they have designed these suburban places, they have been inspired by the thought of topophilia. They have created those places where people can connect it with. People can connect with, right? So they have tried to design places as per the aesthetic sense of the people so that they feel that connection. Neo-traditional design motives, although motivated by good intentions. So they want the clients to be happy, these architects and planners, and they are motivated by good intentions. They want these places to have some connection with the people. Such attempts to create places rich in meaning are perhaps bound to disappoint because they are creative, they are not natural. The author says, though they are good intentioned efforts, well intentioned efforts, but to create such rich places, rich in meaning, is bound to disappoint. It's definitely going to falter because ultimately you are going to design these places. They are not naturally created. As to are noted, purely aesthetic responses often are suddenly revealed. So suddenly when you see these design places, you are in awe of the design. You are in awe of the aesthetic which are created, these places. But their intensity rarely is long lasting. Intensity for that beauty, for that aesthetics, not long lasting. So here the beauty which you see of a natural place, that is long lasting. Aesthetics which you appreciate in a natural place is long lasting, but a contrived place which is designed by an architect and planner, however beautiful it may be, however well intentioned it may be, but it is not going to be, intensity is not going to be long lasting for humans, right? Topophilia is different to design or an impossible to quantify. Ophelia, that love for that place is impossible to design. And it cannot be quantified. So much qualitative element, right? So something which is beautiful for me may not be beautiful for you, right? Because I belong to that place, I come from that place, that's why this place is beautiful. You may not find that place beautiful. It cannot be quantified. That one place is beautiful for everyone, right? So quantified, it cannot be quantified. And in most articulate interpreters have been self-reflective philosophers. He said, he took example of these two articulate interpreters. That means they were also architects and planners, but they were also self-reflective philosophers. That is why they possibly could incorporate some elements in their design that were aesthetically pleasing as well as which had some deeper meaning for, right? So Henry, evoking a marvelously intricate sense of place at Walden Pond, this place which was designed by Henry, had some elements because he was a self-reflective philosopher. Other than being an architect or designer or planner, he was a self-reflective philosopher. That's why he could design this thing. And while describing his deep affinity for the desert, right? So that way, this paragraph talks about one concept, one that is, though architects and designers have been inspired by topophilia, right? And they would try to recreate the same thing in their designs or in their own creation. So, however aesthetically pleasing those designs may be, but they don't have depth of meaning, and people do not feel connected with that as they're connected with the place, right? So, if my designer or if my architect design a place in Mumbai which has a feeling of my native place, which has some semblance of my native place, so it can be aesthetically pleasing for me at the beginning, but I cannot be as connected to that place as I am to my home. Right? So this is the whole idea of this paragraph, that however well intentioned those people are, but they cannot recreate it. And second, it is impossible to quantify and difficult to design. Right? Affinity for the place. And then he said, those who have been able to design it, they were self-reflective philosophers. Other than being planners and architects, they were also kind of philosophers. That's why they could design those things which were deeper in meaning. Third paragraph, last paragraph now. All right. Topophilia connotes a positive relationship, but it often is useful to explore the darker affiliations. This is again an overarching statement which is going to dictate the framing of entire paragraph. So if you understand this, you can understand entire paragraph. What this paragraph is going to constitute, right? So this is how you can minimize your reading. So though it has positive relationship, though has positive connotation, yet connotes some darker connotation. It has some darker meanings as well, right? So here author is going to talk about some negative things which are associated with topophilia, right? Now let's read out. Between people and place. Patriotism, literally meaning the love of one's terra patria, of homeland, has always been cultivated by governing elites for a range of nationalistic projects. So, this feeling of belonging to a place, this feeling of owning a place, that this land is for you or you are for this land, this has been evoked by political elite class, governing elite class, to manipulate people's feeling of nationalism, including war preparation and ethnic. So for these two negative purposes, this feeling has been evoked that this place is for you. How can you allow other people to come in this place? Yeah, this place belong to you or you belong to this place, right? So this feeling has been kind of propagated by these governing elites or political elite to evoke these people's emotions and manipulate those feelings for war as well as for ethnic cleansing, right? Here, author is talking about the darker side of topophilia. Residents of upscale residential developments have discovered how important it is to maintain their community's distinct identity, often by casting themselves in superior social positions and by reinforcing class and racial differences. Another darker dimension of topophilia. When those people live in a specific part, which is exclusively for a certain segment of society, let's say urban area, rural area. Urban area also, segregation is there on the basis of their incomes, right? So there is one part of Mumbai which is there for posh section, which is there for high society. So those people are going to perpetuate that kind of class segmentation because they want to be exclusive. So they are going to use this feeling of topophilia for their own benefits because that place will remain with them. They won't allow other people or lower caste people to come and reside in that place. So that way, another darker side. Second, just as a beloved landscape is suddenly revealed, so too many landscape of fear cast a dark shadow over a place, makes one feel a sense of dread or anxiety or trophophobia. Because of that, as suddenly you feel attached to a place because that place is so beautiful. So a place because you have faced some dreaded experience there, you have had some bitter experiences there. Because of those experiences, that place becomes an object of fear for you, and that feeling of truth. Right? So here, last paragraph leaves with a completely different tone. Author was very positive about tropophilia, what it characterizes, how it is associated with human being and how it is evoked among human being. And then the last paragraph leaves you a very different tone, the darker side of that is true. Right? I hope we have clear understanding of the passage. Now let's approach questions. As I said, the passage was very easy to understand, except third paragraph, which was a bit convoluted. All the paragraph were written in a very lucid manner, easy to understand, although quite coherently written by the author. And even the questions are also fairly doable. Let's approach first question. In the last paragraph, the author uses the example of residents of upscale residential development. Right? So last paragraph, we talked about that. He said that these residents want to be exclusive. They want to maintain their aura of exclusivity by living in that particular area. And that's why they do not want other people to penetrate in that area. They have topophile, they are topophile, but same time they are also perpetuating the feeling of division, right? So this place is for upscale people and this place is for lower class people. So that way they are continuing with the segmentation of caste or segmentation of economic barriers, right? So this is what the last paragraph stated about residents of upscale residential development. Let's look at the options. Manner in which environments are designed to minimize social exclusion of their clientele. So here, this is not what author meant when he talked about the residents of upscale, because now he is talking about the darker side of topophilia. So first is outrightly eliminated. That's not the answer. Introduction of nationalist project by such elites to produce a sense of dread or tropophobia. So this is actually mixing 2 points. Nationalist project, when he talks about three darker side. First darker side was when political elite used this feeling of topophilia to manipulate people for war and for ethnic cleansing. Second, residential or residents of upscale clientele want to remain in that part and they want to exclude other people coming from other areas, right? So these are 2 points. This option is actually merging these 2 points. Outrightly rejected for the answer. Social exclusivism practiced by such residents in order to enforce a sense of racial or class superiority. They come from a different class, they are from upscale class of the society and they have every right to live in this part of the society. People of inferior classes, people of lower classes cannot come to this place. So there is a topophilia, but this topophilia feeling is also endangering or engendering rather the feeling of class exclusion or racial superiority. Yes, that is what is the answer. C. Sensitive response to race and class problems in upscale residential development. So it is not the answer. You can understand, right? These are not the problems. They are actually perpetuated by residents of upscale residential. Number 2. Which one of the following comes closest in meaning to the author's understanding of topophilia? Now, what we have understood as the understanding of author's meaning of topophilia, which of these represents understanding of the author? Let's look at the options. Scientists have found that most creatures, including humans, are either born with or cultivate a strong sense of topography. Okay, so here he very clearly stated in the first paragraph, some people are indifferent. But when this feeling is activated, they can suddenly understand their surrounding well, right? But they can be completely indifferent. So here, most creatures, including humans, are either born with or cultivate a strong sense of topography will not be the answer. And he very clearly said, people differ in their intensity and in their mode of expression, in their subtlety. The tendency of many cultures to represent their land as motherland, fatherland, may be seen as an expression of their topography. Now, since they love that place, the place they were brought up in, they were born, or the place where they were educated or they worked. So they have a close affinity to that place. Hence, that compels them to call these places as motherland or fatherland. This possibly characterizes feature of topography. Let's hold it, right? Nomadic societies are known to have the least affinity for the lands to which they traverse because they tend to be tropophobic. Nowhere discussed in the passage. Nothing has been stated about the nomadic societies, and nothing has been stated about these nomadic societies to be tropophobic, outrightly rejected. The French are not overly patriotic, but they will refuse to use English as far as possible, even when they know it well. Text completely. Nowhere author said anything about language, speaking language by other national, just because they like it or they don't like it, right? So answer is B. Now how B? Because author says you tend to have a close affinity, you tend to have emotive feeling for the place. Emotive feeling, that means your emotions are attached, and those emotions only compel you to call your land your motherland or your fatherland. So possibly this is the option which captures the ethos of author's opinion of topophilia, right? So this was not stated clearly, yet you can come to this answer by understanding what author actually meant. The love place. Question number 3. Which of the following best captures the meaning of the statement? Topophilia is difficult to design for and impossible to quantify, right? So remember the paragraph which discussed architects and designers, however well intentioned they may be, but ultimately the design they are going to create are going to disappoint because they cannot create those elements in a contrived plan. Which option captures that mood or that sentiment? The deep anomie of modern urbanization led to new urbanism's intricate sense of place. Right? So this option is actually nowhere making it clear that why it is difficult for people, these architects and planners, to design spaces. Right? Why topophilia is difficult to design and impossible to quantify. The deep anomie of modern urbanization led to new urbanism's intricate sense of places. It has led to intricate sense of place, but why they have not been able to design the places which have deeper meaning, which reflect deeper meaning, right? So A is not the answer. Architects have to objectively quantify spaces and hence cannot be topophilic. They can be topophilic. They are inspired by topophilia. Two architects, two designers, which were exemplified in that paragraph, are topophilic, but they are also philosophers. This option is also eliminated because it actually says against what has been stated in the paragraph. Philosopher architects are uniquely suited to develop topophilic designs. This has been stated, but this is not answering the question. Question is asking Topophilia is difficult to design for and impossible to quantify. Why this statement is true? That's what you have to. People's response to their environment are usually subjective, so cannot be rendered in design. So why I like the place I live in, why I like the place I was born into, or why I like the place I was educated in. What is it that is connecting me to that place? That is colored by my own perception, that is dictated by my own choices and preferences, that cannot be quantified, right? Since it cannot be quantified, it cannot be designed in a way I like it. And same way, it's very, very subjective. What I like may not be a likable thing for you. Why I like my town may be a cause of detestation for some other person, right? So here it's very subjective. It's not objective way to quantify that this is going to be liked by everyone. Liking, disliking is very subjective thing. So it cannot be rendered in design, right? It's very subjective. That's what author meant. Quantify. Something which is qualitative cannot be quantified. Liking a place is always qualitative, not quantifiable term. Question number 4. So the topophobia in the passage is used. So last paragraph, if you remember, it talked about topophobia because of some experiences. So very clearly, phobia, I hope all of you understand. Topophobia, now topo you understand by a place. So to represent a feeling of dread towards particular space and places, it could be the option, let's hold it. To signify the fear of studying the complex discipline of topography. So that's a very eyewash option, since geography or the topography of it as a part of geography is difficult. Hence, people have fear for it. Nowhere. It's discussed, right? To signify feeling of fear or anxiety towards topophilic people. So those people who like their places a lot. So you have fear for them out of context. As a metaphor, expressing the failure of the homeland to accommodate non-citizens. No. Topophobia was discussed in the last paragraph where author talked about the darkest side or the darker sides of topophilia or the negative connotation of topophilia. He talked about mainly 3 things, right? So these government elite, when they use this feeling of topophilia for rising nationalistic feeling among people, for war as well as for ethnic cleansing. Second, when exclusive class or upscale people try to signify one place with their identity, with their race, with their financial status, and they exclude other people from that. So for those people, this becomes topophobia. And for third, because you have had bitter experiences for that place, on that place, in that place, so you have topophobia for that place. So with that, answer A comes closest to it. Alright? So answer A option will be the answer. Last question, question number 5. Which of the following statements, if true, could be seen as not contradicting the argument in the passage? Sometimes you have to understand what question is asking you to do, right? So understanding passage is one thing. Understanding what question is asking you to do is another thing, because if you misconstrue the direction of the question, you may end up choosing a wrong option. This question is actually asking you to choose the option which is supporting the passage or which is supported by the passage. Alright, which of the option or which of the following statement, if true, could be seen as not contradicting the argument? Other options are contradicting. This option that you are going to choose is not going to contradict, that means it's going to. Alright, let's look at the options. New urbanism succeeded in those designs where architects collaborated with their designs. Now, this is what our assumption may be, right? But author did not say anything of this kind, that these designs failed because the architects or the designers did not collaborate with the client or did not take the client's opinion into account, and that is why they failed. No, author said, however well intentioned these designers may be, ultimately their designs are going to disappoint because topophilia cannot be quantified. right? It's a very subjective thing. It cannot be designed, it cannot be quantified. That's the reason author has given. This we assume possibly that these architects did not talk with the clients, hence their design did not have deeper meaning for the client. A is not the answer. A is means contradicting the author's opinion because authors did not say this. Generally speaking, in a given culture, the ties of the people to their environment vary little in significance or intensity. Author actually said it greatly varies in intensity, subtlety, mode of expression. This is also contradicting author's intention. B option is contradicting, hence is not your answer. The most important, even fundamental response to our environment is our tactile olfactory response. Author said it is third most important. Let me take you to the first paragraph. And then here it says, factor influencing one's depth of response to the environment include cultural background, gender and race, historical circumstances. He also argued there is a biological and sensory elements. So there are other elements which are as important as sensory elements. Whereas the option says it is the most important response to our environment is our tactile olfactory. The most important, it is one of the important disfiguring author's intention, and it is actually contradicting. Now look at D. Patriotism, usually seen as a positive feeling, is presented by the author as a darker form of topophilia. Patriotism, nationalistic. Here he says that political elite or government elite use this feeling of likeness for a place or love for a place for nationalistic purposes, eventually, which are used for war, preparation for war, or for ethnic. So you love your place, you have affinity to your country. So that's the feeling of patriotism. But that feeling can be misused by the person who is ruling you. Feeling can be manipulated, and hence it can be used for waging war against a country or for doing ethnic cleansing of a community, right? So that way this feeling can also have a negative shade. Author has expressed it negative way. Patriotism, usually used as a positive feeling, is presented by the author as a darker form of, right? Last paragraph talks about the darker shades of topophilia. Nationalistic feeling has been expressed as one of the sides of darker side. Here, that is the answer because that is not contradicting the passage, that is supporting the passage. Alright, so other than this question, all the questions you must have observed were fairly doable. If you could read the passage thoroughly, understand the passage content, you can easily do these 4 questions. Besides this question required you to read everything carefully, analyze the information, and then understand what is not contradicted, rather supported. Alright? So, we are usually dictated by our perceptions. So, CAT 19, all the passages were difficult. First passage was difficult, second passage was difficult. So, we assume that third passage is also going to be difficult because it's topophilia, one word which is very alien, difficult to understand. You have never heard this word, you have never encountered this word. So, the passage is also going to be difficult, right? So, you're dictated by that perception and you leave that passage, or you possibly leave all the questions. This is not the correct strategy, right? So there is no wisdom in leaving a passage so easy as this, just because you are unaware of the word this passage starts with. So this starts with a Chinese name, this starts with topophilia, and it compounds the challenge in your mind, right? Don't let it happen to you. If you encounter similar problem this year, CAT, right? First line is very intimidating. First line of the passage seems very complicated. But entire passage could be very easy to understand, right? So give it a try, read first paragraph, and then only make this decision whether you want to do it or you want to reserve it for later. All right, now let's do some words very quickly. Olfactory is connected with the sense of smell. Olfactory cells, olfactory nerves, olfactory organs, right? So author used it that if we have good aroma coming from a place, we suddenly have affinity for that place. Because we are attracted to the source this good fragrance is coming from, right? We follow that place, and if we like everything, we possibly like that place also. So olfactory are senses. Also, our senses are also one of the binding factor which connect us with a place. Tactile, touching, connected with a sense of touch, using your sense of touch for feeling something. Tactile stimuli, visual, tactile communication, so visual and tactile communication. So something which is pleasant to touch is tactile fabric, tactile maps, so that you can touch and feel. He is a very tactile man. He enjoys touching. So that way, call somebody a tactile man because he touches people. Elusive. Difficult to find is elusive. So we use this for those architects and designers for designing place, designing a topophilic place is very elusive for them, right? They are inspired by topophilia, but designing a place which has deeper meaning as well as which is aesthetically pleasing is very challenging, elusive for them. So elusive is anything which is difficult to find, define, or achieve. Eric, as elusive as ever, was nowhere to be found. It's beyond everyone's reach. The elusive concept of literature, right? A solution to the problem of toxic waste is proving elusive, means nobody has been able to give a solution to the problem of toxic waste, right? So the solution, a feasible solution to toxic waste is still elusive. That means still not in our reach. Further movie roles have proved somewhat elusive for the young actor. He has not been able to get as many roles as he desired or as he wanted. He was searching for the ever elusive perfect job. Elusive figure of 99 percentile that you are targeting, right? I hope it's not elusive for you. All of you achieve 99 percentile, right? But that you definitely have to up your game. Sleep was strangely elusive. So that means I could not, right? So elusive is used for anything which is beyond your reach or beyond your grasp. All right? Elusive, olfactory, tactile. These were three prominent words that I decided to pick up. I hope all the words were clear to you and you did not face much problem in understanding the passage. And as I've been stressing on this point again and again, that don't let these words be stumbling block in your understanding. Go with the flow, understand the context, read a line before, read a line after, and with that try to interpret the meaning of the word. Invariably what you interpret is going to be very close to the actual meaning of the word. Alright, so that way words or vocabulary are not going to serve any impediment in your understanding of the passage. You try to understand from the context and you go with the flow, right? So but if you have understanding of these words clearly, you will have greater confidence in passages this year. All right, so thank you very much. Enjoy your festivities, enjoy Diwali, play safe, and um, you know, take all the precautions that we are taking in this period. And do tell me how you feel about this session, whether this session proved to be helpful for you for getting clarity about this passage, CAT 19 passages, and what topics you want me to cover further for CAT preparation this year. And do share with me your thoughts and opinion about this session. Thank you very much. Happy Diwali.